Hi everybody. Why did Ly Tu Diep accept money from CEO James' father? Did Ly Tu Diep leave James? Tu Diep received $20,000 from James' father. This surprised many fans. Why? James' father is a sinister man. He has enough power to investigate Tu Diep's background. It turns out that Tu Diep is not an orphan. Tu Diep got lost when she was very young. Tu Diep's brother is James's employee. That is Tuan's employee. Tuan is in a difficult situation. Tuan's mother is seriously ill. Tuan is in debt and need a large amount of money to treat his mother's illness. Know this. James' father took advantage of this weakness. He set a condition for Tuan to advise her sister Tu Diep. Accept $20,000 and leave James. Tuan is wondering about this, but he felt sorry for his sister. But bring your mother. Getting his sister back was not something he could delay. 20 years have passed. Deep down she thought she had no parents. Now suddenly have mother and brother, making Tu Diep unable to hold back tears of happiness. Tu Diep meets her mother again. In a very difficult situation. Her mother is seriously ill. Ziyi's brother. Tuan also suffered pressure from James' father. But he couldn't bear to tell his sister this. Because Tu Diep had suffered a lot in 20 years. Tuan doesn't want his sister to suffer anymore. Tuan kept quiet until the players were caught. Came to collect debt from his brother. It is clear that Tu Diep's brother is borrowing money to cure his mother. Diep cannot help but worry. How could she abandon her mother and brother at this time? But Diep, I don't know where to get such a large amount of money. Father James's profound thoughts in his conversation. If you were you, what would you choose? Your love for your mother's life. Tu Diep chose to sacrifice her love to save her mother. Tu Diep is a girl with a kind heart. She also does not have to think much when making this decision. The worm does not seek benefit for itself. She went to see James' father and told him her decision. She will accept James's father's offer. Take the money and leave James. James' father smiled triumphantly as he looked deep into the small figure disappeared behind the door. What do you think about Tu Diep's actions? Please leave a comment. Wish you all the best. Tu Diep stood silently in the small room. Dark afternoon sunlight through the window create pale streaks on the floor. In her hand is an envelope of money. The shoes that James' father had just given him. With a cold request, or leave James. This is the best way for both of us. His every word was like a knife cutting deep into her heart. But that suspicious look did not allow her to refuse. She came home, where the quarrels and crying has become familiar. Before her eyes, Tuan's brother was kneeling before the debt collectors. His face was gaunt. Hands and feet trembled when the leader grabbed the collar. If you don't pay, don't blame us for not being merciful. Shouts rang out, made Tu Diep unable to hold back her tears. She knew the money he borrowed was for his mother's medical treatment. Frail woman lying on hospital bed. Not far away. Her time is running out. Tu Diep took a deep breath, his eyes determined. She knew she had no other choice. Took the money from James' father. She went straight to the debt collectors and give it all to them. This is all the money my brother owes. Please spare my family. The leader looked at her, smirked, but eventually took the money and left. The small house fell into heavy silence. Her mother whispered thanks and brother, then bowed his head, not daring to look straight at his sister. That night Tu Diep sat alone in the dark room, hand swiping across the phone screen. She wrote a message to James saying sorry. We are not compatible. I can't keep saying goodbye." She looked at the words for a moment. "Then close your eyes and press send." A tear rolled down his cheek. James received the message while sitting in their familiar coffee shop. He read every word over and over again. "Can't believe this is true." Just a few hours ago, they were talking about the future, about dreams built together. He called her immediately, but all that is given in return is the cold sound from the voicemail. James refused to give up. He went to her house but found the door locked. He stood at the door knocking and calling her name over and over again. In despair, Tu Diep opens the door. "I have to tell you why." But in response, he was only silence. The following days, James tried to find out the cause. "And finally, I know. Get the truth. His father, for the sake of protecting his future, forced her to leave him. That money is the price to exchange for their love." James clenched his fists, his eyes red with anger. Mixed emotions wrapped around him, like the waves that keep hitting the shore. "All I do for you, all the feelings I have for you are in vain. Why do you only need money?" He screamed in agony, but no one heard. He stood still, looking into space, heart filled with despair. I remember every moment with Tu Diep, every hug, every smile she gave him. Each of those images, now like a dagger deep in his heart, remind him that all those good things, now just the past. He wondered how she could give up so easily. Or was I just a fool from the start? Unrequited love without knowing. However, deep down inside, I still can't hate Tu Diep. He wants to be angry with her, want to forget her, but every time I close my eyes, he saw her figure appear again. Unanswered questions kept haunting him. Do you really love me, Tu Diep? Or our love just a short dream that I fooled myself into? James spent many sleepless nights, lock myself in the room and reminisce about it all. I feel like I'm drowning in the abyss of pain and betrayal. But then, part of him tried to justify himself to her. Maybe she has her reasons. Maybe I don't understand it all. The pressures she had to endure. Time passes. James gradually learned to accept reality, but the pain never goes away. Every time I go through places, to people who were happy together, my heart aches again. I know that. Love for Tu Diep will forever be a wound, never heal. But still I hope somewhere she is living happily, even when that happiness no longer has you in it. About Tu Diep, she left James, but her heart never let go. Every night she cried quietly in the corner of her room. Hold tight to the sweet memories between the two of you. She told herself if there is an afterlife, she will not let herself be bound by fate like now. But now she just knows how to accept and live for her family. Love for James, she kept it as a secret that only she knew. James, though heart full of hurt, still can't erase Tu Diep's image in my heart. Every time I go through places, to people who were happy together, I feel my heart ache again. He wondered, will she ever miss him like he misses her? To people, to hearts love each other passionately, but are separated by pressures and responsibilities. Life is still burning with love. They were forced to walk to different paths, carry the pain that never fades. What do you think about James's father? Leave a comment.